I'm Tim Kitzrow, and here to bring home the bacon are Big Ryan the Fat Guy.
Cut me up, bro. What's up, YouTube? It's the NFL Week 10 picks against the spread video for the 2020 NFL season. Fat Guy, we are 67, 64, and 2. We have finally hit break even at that 51.1 magic number. Whoop-de-doo, says the Fat Guy. And like I said, no one cares. So on to the Thursday night football, Week 10. Indianapolis Colts at Tennessee Titans. Titans are 2-point favorites at home. 62% of early bettors are on the Tennessee Titans. Fat Guy, who you got?
You know what? I'm just interested in this game from a football perspective. As far as betting, this is a tight one for me. There is some early sharp money on Tennessee. So contest-wise, Tennessee Titans. As far as do up, do down is concerned, I mean, it makes sense to kind of take the Colts and the points. And when in doubt, I usually do. But 2 isn't enough. 3.5, sure. But two just ain't enough. And even in the new rules where you miss a pat, 2's a push. It's not good enough. I'll lay 2 with the Titans. Let's just go with the better team. We'll lay the points. It's not something I love doing, but this is really just a contest pick. But I am interested in this as a football fan. You've got Derrick Henry going up against a really whichever word, really good performing defense in the Indianapolis Colts. Rivers in that offense is a little bit stagnant, so the Tennessee Titans defense, which is a little underwhelming, like that Vic Beasley signing I was hoping would be something, and he's already been released. Clowney, I don't think has a sack, barring this, unless he got one against the Bears, which I think is unlikely. So let's just go with Tennessee. Let's just go with the better game, or better team rather, and hope for a good game more or less. Tennessee laying the points.
All right, let's move on to Sunday. We'll start off with Washington traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions. Currently, there is no line at Pinnacle as well as no betting information, but there are books that have this listed as Detroit 4-point favorites. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, we're going to be going with the football team, the Redskins, Washington, whatever you have it. We're going to be taking the points. I would imagine that the mystery has something to do with Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has notoriously played through a lot of injuries and personal complications, let's call them. Great quarterback, great player. Love Matt Stafford. Don't love the coaching staff in Detroit. They disappointed me on the weekend, one of my only betting losers against the Minnesota Vikings. And it was pointed out by one of our viewers that on one of Cook's giant runs, they only had 10 men on the field. That's how you lose football games, ladies and gentlemen. And now, speaking of personal challenges, they have Ron Rivera at the helm in Washington. I think that's a coaching edge for the football team, the Redskins. The betting market, we don't know, so I really have to go off handicapping ideas. Now, the Redskins, they've got a bit of a black eye losing 2 games to the Giants, who would otherwise be winless. So this is kind of, I think, a good spot here. Like, they don't look good, but they've played better, right? They have wins over the Eagles, and I can't. And the Cowboys, right? They have had good performances. They have a defensive line that has 4 first-round picks on it. Alex Smith is back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he did throw 3 interceptions, and that wasn't a comeback effort. But can we just glean a little bit of the Alex Smith of old? Because that defense is capable. That defense has talent. Like I said, 4 first-round picks on the defensive line against I'm going to call it inept Detroit Lions. If I could get money down at 4 right now, I don't have a book for myself that's offering that. I would take this price. So as a contest pick, this is easy as pie. Give me the points. Give me the football team.
And just another little tidbit to add on. I know, Fat Guy, you and I have been working on doing betting market information data, bet percentages type of thing. And Washington is one of the least popular teams as far as bet on, as far as number of bets, as well as bet percentages. So the public is always going to be leaning against Washington. Another reason why we usually like them week to week.
Even in contrast to Detroit, which isn't exactly gangbusters, let's say.
Yeah, Detroit 26 in percentage of bets, as well as 23rd percentage of money. So still slightly favored as far as the public betting market is on Detroit. So we're always going to lean towards fading Detroit and jumping on Washington. Fat Guy, next up, Philadelphia Eagles at New York Giants. Giants are 3-point underdogs at home. 37% of early bettors are on the Giants. Who you got?
Well, these are early sharp bettors. It's a young market, much like most of these games. The Giants have been cover kings. Aside from Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, who I believe Cincinnati's number one. They're in the conversation for most covering teams, and they're doing it while they're losing. So that means they're being underrated. Now, Fat Guy, if they're underrated, why are you going to go against them now? Because I think the chasm has been crossed. The script has been flipped. They got a win against Washington. They've got a couple covers in a row. I think that Tampa Bay game is going to stick out in people's head a little bit more because they didn't get the result, but losing by 2 points to Tampa Bay is almost like a win. They're almost on a streak pretty much here. Whereas the Eagles, very interestingly, in our little bet data analyses, they are the most backed team by pros. Is that correct, Big Ryan?
That is correct. And to add on to that, these are two of the more heavily bet teams. Like, these are not strong teams, but they're 12th and 13th, I believe, in the number of bets that have been received on them. So this is going to be a game where the market is strong. There is more bets on each side compared to some of these other early games. And the Sharps have loved the Eagles so far this season.
Yeah, also to the Eagles win and cover ugly. The Eagles have not passed the eye test, which makes me like them even more so, right? I really hope this line shifts, though. Like, I'm in a wait and see because there's a lot of 3.5s out there right now. 3 would be a good number. We choose the contest, so we get to pick the lines. But I'd like to see an Eagles 2.5 with good juice at a -103. That'd be a big buy for the Fat Guy over here. The Giants, I think that data proves they have they have some homers out in New York, which makes sense. It makes sense. Densely populated. And I don't know New York very well. Never been there myself, but I would imagine of the two teams, the Giants are just inherently more popular because of recent success anyways among young fans. So it is nice to have these numbers and our own proprietary data to back them up. I'm going to back the Eagles this week, and I understand it's a revenge game for the Giants at home, and I have to lay points. I'm going to lay the 3 in the contest, hopefully lay 2.5 in real life with good juice. The pros are on the Eagles, so I'm going to hope to be a little bit more professional than what's in the background here, and I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I'm going to lay the points.
Fat Guy, next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Lambeau to take on the Packers, who are 14-point favorites at home. 62% of early bettors are on the public Green Bay Packers. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, we got a tale of two teams. Fantastic. Now, Jake Luton did better than everyone, and he surprised with, I think, his opening pass. His first target to Shark went for a touchdown. I'm hoping the Jags can surprise and keep it competitive against the formidable Green Bay Packers, who have looked, they've looked vulnerable at times. It's not like they had amazing games against Tampa Bay, amazing games against the Minnesota Vikings. They've had some downers, and they just came off a thrashing, I would say, of the San Francisco 49ers. And the Jags, they only have one win. When people think of when the squares look at this, they got 14. It's so easy. No, it isn't. You win by 2 touchdowns against a professional football team. Look at even the Jets have been turning heads a little bit with a couple covers now. The Cowboys with Garrett Gilbert. I thought Cooper Rush was going to play. Who knows? With nobody at quarterback, kept it very competitive against the Steelers. So you mean to tell me that isn't possible with the Jags? No, that doesn't mean I'm not saying this is a lock. There's no such thing as a lock, but you get 14 points. And I do think, though, if you're betting this market, just wait a little bit. If you have to get at 13.5, it's not the end of the world, but I'd want 14.5 with good juice. That's my favorite. That would be the big buy for me. It would be a bigger bet if I could get those two things to align, because betting juice is very important. Because you got to remember, that's a difference of, say you're betting $100 a unit, that's a difference of a few hundred, perhaps even $1,000 a year just on football. If you're betting, if you're getting really good juice as opposed to really bad juice, and all this stuff adds up. It really does at the end of the year, and especially if you're exponentially rolling your bankroll forward, right? Because think about saving $1,000 this year at $100 a unit is going to make you 40,000 in 10 years, perhaps, right? With rollover and exponential gain, right? So you really got to take this stuff seriously, and we do. So we're going to be taking the Jacksonville Jags in the contest. In real life, I'm going to be looking for good juice. If I have to get it at plus 13.5, I will do that. But I'm hoping that this market has a little bit of legs and it goes to 14.5 because this is the Green Bay Packers. They are a public team. And what are they on the list as far as popularity and gambling goes, Big Rye?
Number 1 bet percentage wise, number 4 number of bets, and to jump on Jacksonville as well. Jacksonville has been one of the most popular plays for sharps this year. So this really is a public versus a sharp team.
Pros versus Joes. That's what that means, everyone.
Yeah, and you are getting a pro number at 14 points.
You are. You really are. And think about pros versus Joes doesn't mean that the pro wins every time. It's just the pro is more likely to win. So I'm not saying that this is a slam dunk, but this is very good. This is a good opportunity. I highly recommend betting on the Jags this weekend, and I will be taking them in the contest.
Fat Guy, next up, the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who are 9-point favorites at home. 41% of early bettors are on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fat Guy, who you got?
This is a bizarre one. 9 just seems too good to be true. There's something fishy about this line. I've already taken it in real life, and it's but not for a lot because something feels weird about this. Steelers kind of, they pulled off a win against like a really inept Dallas Cowboys, and they did it in the ugliest and dirtiest way possible. They didn't cover the spread, which they've been doing pretty much all year. And then they're up against a team that's been cover kings. They're number 1, the Cincinnati Bengals covering. I guess I was a year too early because I liked the Bengals every week last year. But 9 points, I'm just not laying that. I'm just not laying that with the Steelers. I don't even find them to be a blowout win team, right? Like that defense is good, but I mean, defenses in the NFL are slated to get scored on. The rules are against you. And give me Joe Burrow in a divisional game with 9 points. That's unreal. This is an early betting market. So I imagine there are some pros on the Steelers and some pros on the Bengals. There's got to be a couple highliners that are on the Steelers, and I want to know why. Like, there's something about it, because some of those guys that are in the ivory tower that are really picking well, that are really beating the spread year in, year out, they know something that we don't. And that's the only thing that worries me about this, because 9 looks too easy, doesn't everybody? Like, if you look at our viewership, there's a lot of guys that are in the heavy positive, some guys in the 60% range. And that's insanely hard to do. And even guys that, finished last year at plus money, they're going to tell you the same thing. This doesn't make any sense. 9 points for the Bengals. I recommend betting it, but don't put a lot because there's something that stinks about this game. Don't you think, Big Rye?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing I'm going to put on this game is that using opening lines, the Cincinnati Bengals are the number 1 team against the spread. Using closing lines, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the number 1 team betting against the spread. So this has been 2 teams riding high as far as riding above expectations. And I think 9 points is a lot. And 9 points is kind of, it feels like they're trying to get people to take Cincinnati in this game.
It does feel that way, which makes me scared.
Definitely does. I think that covers this game. We're going to be on the Bengals regardless. Next up, Fat Guy, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Carolina to take on the Panthers, who are 6-point underdogs at home. 68% of the public is on Teddy covers. Fat Guy, who you got?
They're on Teddy 2 gloves, Teddy covers, because it makes sense. It's just that. But who could look worse than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after this weekend? I don't know. That's maybe the most embarrassing loss, aside from maybe the Jets against the Dolphins, where they got shut out. This was beyond. It's got to be worse because the expectations of the Bucs are just sky high. Antonio Brown playing 78% of snaps, something like that. Also raising the star profile of the already overflowing Buccaneers. I'm going to be taking them in the contest. I'm going to be waiting on them in real life, though. I think there are pros and Joes on the Panthers, but I think the real pros are going to wait for this line to trickle down because the public money should be flowing on Carolina. Carolina has been covering as dogs. Carolina put up a fantastic performance against Kansas City, really playing for a win. And that's really what you want from a dog, I would imagine. They've keeping themselves in the fight. It's hard to cover a spread that large of double digits against the Panthers. I get that, but this line is going to move. It doesn't have to, but it's more likely to shift downwards. It's more likely to make it easier for the Bucks. Bucks 4.5 seems like about right, where it's going to be a nice time to buy. I'm hoping I can get it at that. I'm going to be waiting. So give me the Bucks in the contest. But like I said, in real life, I want them at 4.5. I want this shift downwards. I want to do up on the Bucks, do down on the Panthers, who are also very formidable against the spread. And the Bucks are one of the more favored team by the public as far as wagers are concerned. But they've got to be stung after this loss from the Saints. There has to be a recency bias overreaction. And this one has to be the strongest of the week for me. So I don't see why, when Friday, Saturday, early Sunday morning, I don't understand why the squares wouldn't be adding this to their parlays, which don't do those, obviously, or just betting them straight up. I just see the market having legs for all of those reasons. So give me the Bucks. I'll lay the points. In real life, I'll give it some time.
Yeah, and to add to that point, Fat Guy, the Bucks are the number one bet team as far as number of bets. And I know there's going to be a lot of sour bettors from that Sunday night game that are going to be all over Carolina talking about how much the Bucks suck or whatever they want to say.
Whatever, yeah, the one game.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the next one. Houston Texans travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns, who are 3.5-point favorites at home. 62% of early bettors are on the Browns. I know that line started at 2.5 and has been bet up to 3.5 at some places. Who you got?
At 3.5, I like the Houston Texans. Too many points in my mind. I could be a jaded Browns fan. I know I wear a lot of Raiders gear. I really do like the Browns though, and I don't like the idea of laying the points with the Browns. I think the early pros were on like that percentage at 62% were early pros betting the Browns at what they felt is a good number at 2.5 against a seemingly inept Houston Texans picking up their second win against the Jacksonville Jags. I think I could maybe get even a few more points, perhaps maybe half, so to 4, maybe 4.5. So in the contest, I'll be taking the Houston Texans. In real life, I'll be waiting. I do like the Texans in this spot because I do get some points. I mean, they're competing with the Cleveland Browns. This isn't exactly a blow your hair back a quality type matchup. The Browns are probably maybe a little bit better than I'm giving them credit for, but I don't know if the Texans are much worse. I don't think they're. I think these are comparative teams. Texans are a little bit worse, but you get a 3.5-point cushion. And in real life, I could see that moving to 4, perhaps 4.5. I don't see it swaying the other way. One hard thing is to decide is where is the resistance point for the professional bettors, because they have the money to bet really quick to shift that line downwards, right? So, and back down, right, to equilibrium, as I like to call it. So I would imagine that the resistance point is 4.5. That would be my guess. So right now, gun to my head, we're going Houston Texans in the contest plus 3.5. But I'm hoping I can get them with good juice at 4.5 in a perfect world. But if I have to settle for 3.5 with good juice on the day of, then I will also take the Texans in real life. So give me the Texans and the points.
Next up is Broncos, Raiders. Raiders 4.5-point favorites at home. 44% of early bettors are on the Raiders. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, let's think of popularity, right? And also recent results. The Broncos aren't going to get much credit for their result 2 weeks ago against the Chargers, where they pulled off a miraculous comeback. Weren't able to do so against the Atlanta Falcons despite their efforts. The Raiders able to hold off the Chargers in a thriller, coming down to 2 drop passes in the end zone to conclude the game. Now think about those things. The public will think that perhaps because the Raiders won by more points, maybe that they're over the Chargers than the Broncos, that perhaps they're better. But what this really says to me, and over these 2 game sample, is number one, I already know the sample's too small, but I felt this way the entire year, and I just feel it even more so now. These are pretty even teams. Denver does it a lot uglier. Raiders have a little bit more star power. Raiders have a bit more of a future, let's say. But and I think Raiders are slightly better, but they're not much better. 4.5 is too much. Denver is also a team that is not liked by the public. Big Rye, can you confirm that for me?
They are the least bet team as far as percentage of bets.
The least bet team. So that gives me confidence that the line could move. I don't think it will, but I just don't see a flurry of money coming on the Broncos. So you could also wait here. I think 4.5 is a good price. And by all means, buy now. I'm down with that. I might do it myself at the conclusion of this show. But 4.5 points is too many in a game that should really be 2. Maybe, 2. I'm going to say 2 for the Raiders. And I think there is meat on the bone there. But the thing I don't mind about waiting or perhaps buying now and adding to it later is that, like you said, they're the lowest bet team. So that's fantastic news for potential line movement. The Raiders have panache, and I could see them cashing more public tickets. I just don't know where the pro resistance points are. So maybe buy 4.5 now, and perhaps if it does have legs and it moves throughout the week. So let's go with the Broncos. I like them in real life, and I like them in the contest. Broncos and the points.
Fat Guy, next up, the Buffalo Bills travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals, who are 1.5-point favorites at home. 43% of early bettors on the Cards. Fat Guy, who you got?
Do up, do down. I'll take the do up Arizona Cardinals, who disappointed me. It was another one of my in real life losses against the Miami Dolphins. I do like the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is a close game. I actually think they're going to be better indoors. You know what I mean? At home. I think this is a good spot for them. You're going to have the bets. This is such an early market. So 57.43 is over a few hundred bets. Is only the difference of 30 people feel differently. That's not that many, right? This market is going to change in a variety of ways. I have a feeling Buffalo is going to get a lot more love. I mean, of course, they beat the unicorn, the fabled Seahawks. Russell Wilson not able to come back for once. And Buffalo, that served us well in real life and in the contest. And that being said, that's do down for them, do up for the Cards. Give me the Cards, who've had an emotional loss, and hopefully they can have an emotional win against the Bills. I do think that you could possibly get a pick 'em. You know what I mean? That would be really, really nice. Maybe getting the Cards at even money to win the game outright would be great, because I feel that's a 54% maybe for the Cardinals to win this game, maybe 55. And if you could get them at even money, that would just be a home run. Plus money, I don't think is going to happen. It's too greedy. Even a -1, 102, -101, 103, that would be really nice. So hopefully there's some movement, and I can put some good dough down on the Cards. So give me the Cards. I'll lay the points.
Next up, the Seattle Seahawks travel to LA to take on the Rams, who are 1.5-point favorites at home. 45% of early bettors are on the Rams. Fat Guy, who you got?
This is a game that's so tight for me. I feel this way very similarly like I do between Indy and Tennessee. It's just a tough one. And I'm not sure about movements either. Like Seattle seems to never lose public confidence, but it could have got a little sting here. It could have. And I'm not sure that they're going to get the buyback that I'd want to, because I'd like to take the Rams at plus money, but they're the favorite right now, right? It's purely a contest pick, and I'm going to be taking the Rams. I don't like this. I'm really torn on it. It's a game I'm going to enjoy. Don't get me wrong. Much like Tennessee Indy, it's a divisional game that's tight, and betting wise, I feel like either side you pick at if you had to pick this line at -110, I feel like the bookmaker is making money. I think no matter what side you pick, the bookmaker is cashing tickets. So I'm going to take the Rams in the contest. In real life, it'd be a hard scenario for me to bet. And maybe if I got Rams plus money, like plus 110, something like that, then I would consider it. But it's going to be a contest pick. It's going to be the Los Angeles Rams, excuse me.
Fat Guy, the final midday game, San Fran at New Orleans. Saints are 10-point favorites at home. 55% of early bettors are on the Saints. Who you got?
We'll be taking San Francisco. Of course, I understand that there are COVID complications. There are a multitude of injuries. Nick Mullins is probably going to play quarterback unless they change to C.J. Beathard with Jimmy Garoppolo out. George Kittle is out. I understand all that stuff, and the Saints are riding about as hot as they can. This is a contest pick right now at 10. I'm going to try and get them at 10.5 because there should be some movement. Saints couldn't look better than they already do, and there's probably only going to be bad news out of San Francisco. I think a good indication would be about whether the receivers are removed from the COVID list is if they add players from the practice squad, and that would, I imagine, happen tomorrow or today when this really gets released Tuesday or the Wednesday perhaps. So that would be a good early indicator about the status of those players, I would imagine. And if they don't add, then that gives me confidence because I normally don't really care if receivers play. Like, they're interchangeable pieces to me. But I do feel that the 49ers use specialty players almost, and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are they're very niche players and important to this complicated offense, which does need a helping hand, especially with CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins. I would imagine Nick Mullins, I don't really know for sure, playing quarterback. So they need those reverses, those jet sweeps, those screens to kind of help them along in the game, right? And without those players, I do think that is in jeopardy. So I'm hoping that they come back, considering I'm going to be taking the 49ers now. This is a much talk about topic within our Discord chat, which is you can join our Discord chat if you become a member. It's just $5 a month. We're trying it out. It's a YouTube feature. So if you're interested in that, we're at arm's length. And we do talk about these lines. And the guys in the group, a lot of them are seasoned veterans in the gambling game, so you can pick their brain. So we are all kind of in the group are interested in San Francisco, but it's more of a wait-and-see approach. Hopefully we get them at 10.5. So let's take the Niners and take the points.
Next up, Sunday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens travel to Foxborough to take on the Patriots, who are 7.5-point underdogs at home. 40% of early bettors are on the Pats. Fat guy, who you got?
Pat's in the points, but in real life, we got to wait, Big Rye. Pat's having a bizarre win against the Jets. We almost feel like the Jets threw in the towel in the fourth quarter, don't you think, Big Rye?
I definitely did, and I jumped on the live line on the Pats, which did work out, but there was just very, very fishy from the Jets.
On a field goal attempt, you have 12 men on the field? I don't know. And then you have
3rd and 1.
Third and 1, which is an obvious sneak for the Pats, and you have 4 down linemen. I don't know. We're not into conspiracy. We don't have tinfoil hats, although the back of my apartment would kind of look like it would seem that way. We definitely don't. But just something was weird there. It really was. That being said, it was a very ugly and bad performance by the Pats. That's why I said wait for this line, because why wouldn't it move? Like, why? It's the Ravens it's the new look Ravens against the new bad look Patriots, which that, you know me, I'll get all the points at home. I'm going to be taking the Pats. And I think it's tougher right now for Baltimore to blow teams away. So I think they're a closer scoring team, kind of like how Tennessee can be a lot of the time. So I feel like they're becoming very similar in how they win games. Of course, any team's capable of blowing out. I just feel with the running style, it's they're not scoring as fast as they did last year. Teams are finding a ways to slow them down, which leads to clock running, which leads to closer games, which leads to bad news if you have to lay a lot of points. And I imagine that this line is going to shift in the nine spot. I'm going to guess that would be my guess. Of course, there could be some pros that just level it out, but 7.5 is a great line, and I would buy right now and hopefully buy down the line. Give me the Pats and give me the points.
Fat guy, on Monday night, the Minnesota Vikings travel to Chicago to take on the Bears, who are 2.5-point underdogs at home. Only 33% of bettors are on the Bears. Who you got?
This is my bet of the week. I love this bet. I like the Chicago Bears. I do in real life to make it the bet of the week because I want to wait for that line shift to possibly 3. Bears are on a bit of a skid despite I think they were 4-0 to open the season, Big Rye.
The Bears had wins over the Lions, Giants, Falcons. They lost to the Colts, so they started out 3-0, 3-1. They beat the Bucs to go 4-1. They beat the Panthers to go 5-1, and then it's been downhill ever since.
Three game skid, correct?
Yeah, they've lost to the Rams by 14. They lost to the Saints by 3, and they lost to the Titans by a touchdown.
So I mean, they've kept it relatively close, except that Rams game was a lot worse than 14. Just from an eye test perspective, whereas the Vikings have kind of resurged they on the back of Dalvin Cook with these impressive performances that really they pass the eye test. And don't forget, it's also squares are very into fantasy and fantasy points. So Dalvin Cook having big numbers puts an idea in their head, even if they don't own the player. They'll see it, or they'll play against it. For instance, they go, "Oh, Dalvin Cook, he's a difference." Dalvin Cook's just a running back. Running backs add very low win probability added. Really, they do. And Dalvin Cook might even be the best active running back at this moment, but he's not going to make or break your team, more or less. So that makes me like the Bears, who I do not think should be getting points at home. I think they should be laying 2.5 points at home. This is a 5-point gap. And because of the irrationality of the recency bias of the public, I think that they're going to be able to get 3 points, and 3 points at good juice, which is what I want. And I'm going to be hammering this for some serious cash ola do re mi. So give me the Bears in the contest. Give me the points. I'm going to be taking them in a real bet in real life, and I'm going to be adding on that bet if I can get some positive line movement. But that 3 number might not be around forever, because I can't imagine I'm the only one that's going to be doing this.
Yeah, and just a little betting tidbit for you guys. If you can get this at 3, great. If it's at 2.5, we would recommend getting the money line. You're going to get better value on money line if it's 2.5 or lower.
Absolutely.
And bet on 3 because of the key number if you end up getting 3. All right, Fat Guy, on to the lightning round. Let's start off with Thursday Night Football, Indy at Tennessee.
Hoping for an enjoyable game. Going to take the Tennessee Titans.
Washington at Detroit.
Washington and the points.
Philly at the New York Giants.
Laying points with the Eagles.
Jacksonville at Green Bay.
Double-digit dogs, Jacksonville Jags.
Cincinnati at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Cover King Bengals.
Tampa Bay, Carolina.
The hapless Bucks laying the points.
Houston at Cleveland.
Texans and the points.
Denver at the Raiders.
Denver Broncos.
Buffalo at Arizona.
Arizona Cardinals.
Seattle at the Los Angeles Rams.
Popcorn game, the Los Angeles Rams.
San Fran at New Orleans.
The COVID King, San Francisco 49ers and the points.
Sunday Night Football, Baltimore at New England.
Pats and the points.
And Minnesota at Chicago on Monday night.
Bet of the week, Chicago Bears.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the 2020 Week 9 winner. Congratulations to Satuple, going 12-2 against the spread. Good for 85.7%. Let's take a look at the Week 9 leaderboard. Satuple on top at 12-2. True or Foles going 11-3, good for 78%. 10-4. E-Steelers, 888. Big Rise German Roots. Mussman the Busman. Show me your touchdowns. Billy 369.
Tearing it up.
And Colty Boy 69. All going 10-4. An excellent week. And Fat Guy, you get to pat yourself on the back. We went 9-5 in Week 9, so slowly crawling our way back up that leaderboard.
Over 500. And Satuple El Putas, he had to win with the Jets cover. So imagine how ironic that is. To win the contest, to be a multiple week winner, which he is now, he needed to eke out True or False with a cover with the New York Jets.
And then Fat Guy onto the overall leaderboard, where Billy 369 is on top, 85 wins, good for 64.9%. I know you wanted to talk about how impressed you were with the top 25.
Well, even further, look how many guys, most of our viewers that stick with it. I mean, that could be survivorship bias, because maybe people there are people that do poorly over a couple weeks and then just give up. So there is a little bit of survivorship bias. But I mean, a lot of our viewers have been pretty sharp. Some of our lines are stale because we put it out early. I understand all of those factors, but you have Billy 369 at 64.9%, and Cassone at 63, and Fleabit Peanut Butter Monkey at 62. That's 3 guys over 62. I don't know if that's statistically an anomaly to have 3 outliers like that, and the other guys aren't that far behind. But this is really, really impressive. And I hope we're all getting sharper together. I hope we're helping out. And I'm just impressed. I'm impressed with this group as a whole.
All right, Fat Guy, on to the JS715. Name of the week, honorable mentions.
Big Rye's German roots, because he's keeps turning his W's into V's. Little known fact about Big Rye: despite being born in British Columbia in Canada, his first language Pennsylvania Dutch. My username is longer than Fat Guy's penis, so that's not very hard to do. I mean, you could have done a few characters and that would have sufficed. Chase Spreadmans. I mean, it's one of those clever punny names like you see in a fantasy football league. Hello, football fans. Inside joke. Well, there are other channels that do this, some better than others. I demand a recount. Well, this week you would have to, because you didn't even make the top 10. Same with this other guy. Stop counting the vote. It's topical. I get it. Driving Kanish's truck. Of course, this is a nod to the famous poker movie Rounders, which I highly recommend for the drama, but not the realistic nature of the poker within the movie. Of course, that being John Turturro's character. Great watch. Highly recommend. I bet the Fat Guy could piggyback Big Rye 40 yards. In fact, I piggyback someone about 50 pounds heavier than Big Rye 100 yards for a bet. So that would be money in the bank. I mean, of course, I'm going to throw up whatever I ate and have to re-eat it again because of how tired I would be. But those are all decent. We got a long list this week.
This is the JS715 Name of the Week. Whoa, kaboom!
And now this is the JS715 Name of the Week, as mentioned previously by Tim Kitzrow. Roland gone quicker than my dad was. Now, this guy who made this name, the contest is named after him. And there's a reason for it. You just see these names once in a while, and it makes your day. It really does. And I loved all the other names. I really did. But this one, of course, an allusion to our live streams, where Roland Walton, a guy who seems to be on this stream only when Dylan Toddfield is not. It's a little bit strange. So, yeah, somehow when we all seem to jump on it and seem to be curious about it, seems nowhere to be found. So you've already cued the music when you went like this. So Roland Walton, gone quicker than my dad was.
All right, guys, make your picks for Week 10 at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. There's also going to be a link in the description. And as well, whoever comes first in the contest this year gets $100 US prize. So compete and do your best to see if you can win. All right, Fat Guy, that is it for the Week 10 picks against the spread video. Your thoughts?
I don't know. We've been on a hot streak, Big Rye. It feels like 4 or 5 weeks in a row almost. Kind of coming back from some very early growing pains, let's call it. So I'm a little bit worried about this from a superstition nature. But some of these plays are just awesome. Just awesome. Chicago money line, Chicago +3 perhaps. Jacksonville, I like. There's some good spots here. There really is. So best of luck to all you punters. And you can check out, like I had mentioned earlier about how well everyone in our viewers have been doing. You can check out our website, BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. And there is a metric there under picks that'll let you know about where our group is thinking. And that might even be helpful because perhaps, I haven't gone through the exact metrics that you need to qualify for the Wisdom of Crowds. Great book by James Surowiecki, highly recommend. But crowds can be wiser than experts. So not that we're experts, but the crowd could be better than us in certain scenarios. So I would highly recommend checking out our website, www.BigRyanTheFatGuy.com, to at least, peel the onion, see what our viewers are thinking, and perhaps that could all make us sharper.
Good luck to you guys in Week 10.